So I'm thinking, why am I letting myself be, like you said, be so pressured and so put down and so judgmental of my own work, you know?
I do think the basis of all this is a soul piece. And I think all the things that we end up doing are because we don't have that soul piece. It's from insecurities. And so teachers are very insecure. I mean, they're put in a position where most of the time they're not doing the things that they're choosing to do either. I mean, it's such a fractal. I mean, everything I see in the kid, I see in the teacher, you know. So I think you're right. I mean, we're not acting like we would normally act if we were in a free space ourselves. And so we succumb to things and we become dependent on those things. It is like an abusive relationship and situation, you know? We keep going back to the thing that is not letting us be ourselves.
It's crazy.
I think I notice something that I've been paying attention to for myself, and I think that when you talk about like why do we keep trying to fight against this or all the angst, and I think it's I I try to convince people. I want them to understand what I'm saying and to agree. And I'm now getting to a place of, okay, well, wait a minute. I actually don't need to convince this person. I need to be convinced for myself. And when I come from that place of feet solidly grounded and I know what I'm doing and why, I can come to it in a more open-hearted way. And I can even, I guess, setting my expectations and boundaries and be doing things differently, but not have to convince them.
And that's just it, you guys.
But it's so different.
If we have to sell it, if we have to sell it, it's just like school and it's a prescribed curriculum. And so the quiet revolution piece, and I'm doing the detox myself and I've learned so much from doing it. And for like a week, I would go in there and say every day, oh, I'm just noticing that a quiet revolution it's a quiet revolution, you know, and it's not a sell. Um, it's from what we
Right.
do that they are allured and drawn into it. It's like the web is teaching us that when you let it be like John Hagel's power of pull as opposed to a push, we don't want to do some of the same thing. We've seen the charter schools and homeschool and unschool and every other option do the same thing. So yeah, we can't have it be a sell.
No.
So, Monica, what do you do to detox? What are the kinds of things that people do to detox?
Well, one of our things is that everyone is a thumbprint. Ellen Langer's book was amazing for us, mindfulness, and that she says in it the prejudice decreases as discrimination increases. And I think that's what the web has allowed us in the last 3 or so years is that we can now differentiate to infinity. So detox could mean, different things to different people, but we got some self-directed learners, some famous people, and said, how do you learn? What are the steps you go through to learn? It was very hard for them, and it's very hard for like unschoolers to come in and get what detox is all about because it's natural. They don't even think about it. And we feel like learning is natural. Detox is something that is temporal because once we get back to it and the 5-year-olds come into the system or whatever it is by then, and we just facilitate that, they won't lose it. So this truly is a detoxification back to a natural state. So what we've come up with from those experts and then letting kids tweak the words so they seem like natural words. It's not a fake thing, although it still has a sense of a fakeness because there's those words there. But there's 5 words. Be, to rid your mind of chatter. Oscar Wilde has a quote that most people are other people. So having that solitude and knowing that, okay, is math my passion or was I just really good at it? And so people kept saying that. So this is a very Carol Dweck mindset, Then notice the unlikely, and that came from Ellen Langer. We think we could change the world if we noticed the unlikely, and Marianne talks about going on walks and change, the classroom is set up and our outcomes and our objectives are set up to create mindless people. The next one is to dream. And that a lot of that came from Roger Martin's The Design of Business, and that we need to question this reliability oriented society. And that goes back to what you were saying, Heidi, about teachers just going along, or no, it was you, Anne, going along with things, that we don't have the boldness that we should have to question things. In Walk Out, Walk On, they talk about dreams in there quite a bit, and that how do you really be creative without a dream? The next thing is to connect. And this is the thing that I think has really changed in the last 3 to 5 years, that we can connect to anybody, anywhere, anytime.
Right.
You know, so it's connecting to people and to things, like connecting ideas, like Stephen Johnson's adjacent possibilities that he talks about in his TED Talk about where do great ideas come from. And that also spawns off now to our job as facilitators is to be conduits to communities of practice. So let's think of school now as just, we're facilitating spaces by choice. And then the last thing is to do. And so doing, and the kids came up with that measure is, does it matter and is it awesome? So they go into the booth, or whoever goes into this booth, there's a laptop, and it's a self-reflection. That's all it is. It's a guided self-reflection to get you back, because in public education, we don't have time for self-reflection. But that's a huge key to intellectual learning. So just going through those, you can go through them with a prompt, or you could just go in and self-reflect. Detox is self-reflecting, actually. Getting back to that.
Maybe this is included in the Rid the Mind chapter, but that sort of the piece of knowing yourself. And I notice with, what ages are you working with, Monika?
All ages.
Okay. So I certainly notice with the teen kind of age right now that, like, my daughter's looking for a lot of reflection from me. Like, what do you see in me again, Mom? And I think of, like, Robert E. Quinn, book called Building the Bridges We Walk on It. And some of his work that he does, he uses the appreciative inquiry approach of going out and saying, tell me a story about myself of something that you noticed, or something that you thought was really, defining or sort of exemplary. And pulling that back, that often the thing that is our greatest strength is invisible to us because it comes so naturally. And it's only in reflection from someone else that we start to recognize it. So I think we need to include a piece somewhere of that, reflecting to kids what we see, and within the connections, that certainly is part of what I take as, what I bring as an adult. But there's self-knowledge, yeah.
I feel like I'm monopolizing a bit here.
No.
We were asked to write a book, and Mary Ann's helped with that. She wrote a piece on rhizomes, because this is all based on rhizomatic learning and rhizomatic spaces and rhizomatic expertise. But there are 5 elements that we feel like need to happen. The first one is the detox, and that's the only one that we think that once we get this down, we won't need that anymore. But one of them that you've touched on now is a mentor alongside. And so that's someone who's there. They're not teaching. You're deliberately not teaching, but you're listening without an agenda. And so that would be, I think, the piece you're talking about, to where someone is there, Another one that ties into that is interdependency, that we're not in a class of 30, but we're not by ourselves either. And we're making sure that we're at least connected to one person, ideally to a whole community of practice, but you would also get feedback there. But I think we're so used to pleasing people and trying to become other people that solitude and looking, I wouldn't have known it until I'd done it myself. Looking at yourself and talking to yourself daily and deciding yourself, is this something I can't not do? Or, why is this bothering me? Just those conversations are pretty key. And I can tell you from watching the kids do that, it usually brings me to tears, because they are to watch a person come out and become themselves is incredible. And we've